Hello, everyone. Good morning or good evening, depending on where you're connecting from. And welcome once more to the ISE course on Introduction to Environmental Epidemiology. Today, we will have the second session for the applied lecture on ethic guidelines for epidemiologic research. So, Xiaoki, I hand it over to you for the introduction of our presenter today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna. Hello, everyone. It's nice seeing our returning students, participants back to the workshop. I'm Xiao. I'm Professor of Urban Health and Environment at University of New South Wales, Sydney, Australia. I'm the co-chair of ISE Capacity Building and Education Committee, the CAPE committee, which, as you know, that we are hosting through the whole year a series of introduction to environmental epidemiology. So tonight we have our guest lecturer, Dr. Nivine Abbas. Nivine Abbas, she is a community health, environmental health and research ethics expert with great experience in academia, community development project, and also training. And I want to mention that Nivine Abbas is also the assistant professor at the Faculty of Health Sciences from University of Balmain. So welcome, Nivine. I'm really looking forward to your session because I think ethics is one thing really important, to all the research, and especially when it comes to environmental health, I think that's crucial that we want to make sure our research is impactful, but also there's a strong ethics involved. And so I would love to hear more and learning more from your lecture. Welcome, and I will hand over to you. So to our guest, today, to our participants, so if you have any questions, please can you type in the chat box? So later on when Nivine finish her lecture, and so we can either read out your questions or we will ask you to put your hands up. So you can turn on your microphone to ask your question. During the lecture, unless there's a really urgent issue, I would ask you to mute your microphone because this section is recorded. A lot of other participants, because the time zone issue or they have other engagement, they could not attend this lecture lively. So what we do is we record this lecture and then upload to our ISE website. So we want to make sure we have high quality recording as well. But if you have any queries, please put your question in the chat. And if for any reasons there's an internet connection issue from our side, please just hold on line and we're trying to dial in again. We will come back as soon as possible. Thank you. Over to you, Nivine.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I would like to start by welcoming you to ICEE online course on the Introduction to Environmental Epidemiology. Today's session is about applied session about ethical guidelines for environmental epidemiology research. This presentation was prepared by my colleague, Dr. Atanu Sarkar, who is the chair of the Ethics and Philosophy Committee at ICE, and of course myself, Nivine Abbas, who is a vice chair of this committee and also a member of the EM, perfect. So I'm going to start by the outline of my presentation. Today, I'm going to talk about the introduction of the concept of conflict of interest, and then we will go and link it to greenwashing concept. And then, of course, we will go and so basically, I was just discussing the outline. I'm going to discuss the conflict of interest as a concept, then link it to greenwashing concept and define it together. And then we will give some example and case studies about greenwashing and why there is some ethical challenges related to that. I would like by starting talking about conflict of interest. In fact, this concept has been discussed, I think, by everyone, whether we are talking about it in our personal level, whether we're talking about it in our institution, in our research, in our projects as a part of environmental epidemiologists. So what is this conflict of interest concept and how can we define it? So if I want to start defining conflict of interest, it simply occurs whenever a political or bureaucratic or even a career or economical incentives, whether it's real or perceived, has the potential for producing partiality or compromising objectivities. So it exists whenever an epidemiologist's role, obligation, or personal interest in accommodating an institution, sponsor, funding agency, financial security, or personal goals even compromises obligations to others who have a right to expect objectivities and fairness. A very simple example could be related to, let's say I'm doing a research related to air pollution, and one of the industrial, companies that is really causing air pollution is going to fund my research. So here the question is, do you think these companies are going to interfere in the process of the research, whether we're talking about it in the question of the research, in the hypothesis, to what extent this will really make the researcher free in deciding about their own data and disseminating of the findings? And I'm going to share, of course, during my presentation, several cases related to that. Again, how can we link that to the concept of greenwashing, and what is the ethical concerns related to that? Everyone nowadays is really looking for environmental friendly products, with the turn or environmental health concerns related to climate change specifically. Even the community, the lay people are really interested. How can they really avoid as much as possible environmental health issues? And this make the businesses and the industries and even companies use that in order to market their own products and services. And the problem is that what if these companies or agencies are telling things that are not true, or even if it's misleading or sometimes without evidence? And here comes the question of what is greenwashing and how can we really define greenwashing? If I want to define greenwashing, simply it describes the practice of making false claims of sustainability or environmental friendliness to gain market share. And this can be making environmental claims without supporting evidence. So the question is here, what if a company is giving us information for the customs or for the subjects or for anyone that is not true or without evidence? Is there any ethical challenge here with that? And of course, I would like to highlight the difference here between what we call green marketing and greenwashing. If the company or the agencies is telling things that is true, there is no problem with that. But the problem is if we are misleading customs with using some buzzwords like green, sustainability, even sometimes using colors, green colors in our products, or even using eco labels that is just misleading for the customs. And this is basically what we call greenwashing. If I want to go and say then, based on this definition, why do you think greenwashing is unethical? Anyone can, of course, feel free to reply now or write on the chat. Do you think greenwashing is unethical, and why? Maybe you can think about it while we are presenting, and then we can open the discussion at the end of the presentation. So when I say greenwashing and ethical challenges, just to discuss, do you think the customers have the right to have the right info to decide if you want to buy a certain product or not? Do you think you will buy a certain item or pay high prices for a certain item, and if this item is really misled by the label of it or by simply lying or hiding some information by the company? Do you think this is ethical or unethical for you as a customs? All of these could be maybe discussed at the end, but just to raise these questions from now. And I would like to start giving you some examples of some of the greenwashing evidence based on some of the companies. And I would like to start by stating that based on one of the report, and it was published in 2022, it was stated that nearly 2/3, that means plus or minus 63% of the social media posts put out by 6 major fossil fuel companies. Of course, this was research in Europe. And what is interesting is that these companies are presenting themselves as a green image, but in fact, they are really acting as doing activity related to fossil fuels. And we all know the effect of fossil fuels on the environment, specifically on the climate change. So here we can see the contradiction between doing something and stating something else. Another example is related to KFC. We all know maybe KFC, this is a global company. And what was interesting in the case of the KFC that it released a film showing the welfare and standards that they really take care for the chicken, which is the main animal that they use in their restaurants. And basically, what was interesting that this same farm was really filmed later, and I'm going to leave it for you to watch what's the reality behind it. So I will stop sharing, and kindly can you share the video, please?
Yes. Let me share my screen.
This is what's really behind the bucket. As part of KFC's Behind the Bucket commitment to better chicken welfare, they invited Nico, a YouTuber, to come and visit one of the farms that supplies their restaurants.
Hello my friends, I'm Nico and I'm on a farm.
The video footage was shared extensively online as a paid promotion.
Looks incredible. You're very welcome.
We decided to go undercover to film at exactly the same farm.
Boot stitch, let's get inside. Look at all those chickens.
There are a lot of birds here, 52,000 to be exact. KFC chose to bring Nico down here when the birds were really small and cute. They were maybe 15 to 20 days old. We've come back when they're 33 days old.
So you really do care about these chickens then?
Yeah, we do.
Tony, what about these chickens? Do you care about birds like these three here who they've got to the point where they can't stand up anymore? And because their skeletons are so immature, they just can't handle the weight. So they get to a position where they just can't walk anymore, they can't feed.
All right, Tony, I want you to address a conspiracy theory that KFC pump chickens with steroids and make them huge.
Nobody grows chicken like that.
Nobody in the animal protection movement claims that farmers are using steroids. Antibiotics, yes. And what we do object to is the selective breeding of these birds over decades so that the birds take on so much weight that they can no longer stand up.
Why do the chickens have a swing?
They don't, at least not when they're not expecting the camera crews here.
Bales for birds to peck at and all the enrichments that we put inside the shed.
We found one swing that they can reach, and that's for 52,000 birds.
And Tony, as well, there's no cages here. I thought there was like 4,000 chickens in one small cage.
No, there is no cages.
I'm afraid Nico's getting confused with the egg industry, where even today they are still using cages for the hens. And how is it a lot different in the chicken industry? They have no access to the outdoors, they have no natural light, they're just stuck in these horrible factory farms for their whole lives.
We're very proud of our animal welfare here, and the birds plenty of room to roam.
You tell me, do these birds have plenty of room to roam? Each bird has about as much room as an iPad or an A4 sheet of paper. How is that better than a cage?
We'll sprinkle fresh straw across the floor area for them to play with and sit on. Put that bale under my arm like that, and then I'll just chuck fresh straw on the floor.
It's not exactly straw, it's a mixture of wood chip and feces and urine. It doesn't get replaced. They just spend their lives sitting on their own excrement, and as a result of that they get a lot of lesions. Oh, I was hoping we wouldn't find any dead birds, but look at this one. So KFC thinks it's acceptable for around about 4 or 5% of all birds to die in the farm. This one barn has 52,000 birds, which means that roughly 2,500 birds are going to die within 35 days of their life cycle. Is that acceptable?
We're very proud of our animal welfare here.
This is what we found outside the barns. Ugh.
KFC have been improving chicken welfare for years.
The reality is that over time, intensive chicken farming is getting worse. So Tony's not really a chicken whisperer. He's the farm manager of Park Farm North, Kettlethorpe near Lincoln. Now this is one of Moy Park's flagship agricultural academies. Tony's farm is one of the best. That's why KFC came and filmed here, so you can imagine what the rest are like. KFC needs to commit to moving away from the intensive factory farming of chickens like this and work on a kinder, more sustainable, plant-based chicken commitment. So we might get sued by KFC for this, or Moy Park, who run the farm, or even Tony the chicken whisperer. But we feel that people want to know where their food comes from, and they deserve to know where their food comes from. And we don't think they want to buy food from places like this. You know, you can still shop at KFC. They do a really good vegan fillet, vegan chicken burger. It's a corn fillet, and it just saves having to put thousands, millions, billions of birds through this type of suffering. It's just so unfair.
Other than this, and of course we will discuss this video at the end. Another example is related to Volkswagen. You know, this is a company that's also very well known. And what is interesting in this case is that in 2015, the EPA discovered that Volkswagen cheated on the federal emission tests by installing software that detected testing scenarios, of course, lowering emissions during the test. However, what was found later is that in reality, in the driving scenarios, this was emitting up to 40 times more nitrogen oxide in the normal driving scenarios. And of course, this was admitted cheating, and it was one of the cases that saying something and trying to look for the opposite. Another case of another, very famous company is L'Oréal. We all know, and this is an international also, company that is for cosmetics, especially for women. And what was interesting in this case is that people were asking L'Oréal as a cosmetic company to withdraw its hair relaxer, simply because there was evidence showing a link between the increased risk of cancer and the women, especially the Black women specifically group that were using it, mostly the hair relaxer. At the same time, if you can see on the other hand of the second picture, you can see how much L'Oréal was really supporting UNESCO for the Women in Science Fellowship. So they were trying to look and be part of empowering women and research related to health. And this will contradict exactly what their products are. So their products are related to maybe putting risk on the health of the woman. On the other hand, they are trying to advocate the image that they are part of the leaders in providing scholars for women or fellowships for women and related to health research and advocacy. Another example is Johnson & Johnson, which there was a lot of cases raised related to the baby powder of this company, claiming that it has a cancerous risk. At the same time, we can see that Johnson & Johnson leaders were part of the Women Health Network that provided, again, as part of empowering women for doing more research related to health. So again, this could be the double, if you want, image that these companies are trying to show. Also, I would like to stop on another case related to fossil fuel industries. And there is a lot of evidence nowadays showing how fossil fuel industries are really trying their best to partner with academia and universities specifically. And the question will remain, why do you think fossil fuel industries are really looking for this partners? Do you think really that they are getting more interest of the universities, or they have also another interest, hidden interest, if you want? And basically, they are trying to fund the university, whether opening a research center or opening, labs, or opening, helping the universities in their funding agencies. But in fact, based on this report that was published in 2024, it stated that they enhanced their credibility by doing this partnership. They try their best to silence opposing voices, And of course, all of this is for their own interest. So always there is a hidden agenda behind all these, partnerships, specifically with fossil fuel industries. The question will remain, what can we do to avoid getting greenwashed? What can we do to avoid this kind of conflict of interest? And can we do anything? Who is the responsible? Is it only the researchers? Is it the institutions that's really affiliated by these or supporting these researchers? Should we really have international advocacy for stopping greenwashing, or even some organizations that should work on that? And another very important question is that, do health researchers face pressures? And if so, what type of pressures that these health researchers are facing? I would like to give you some evidence from literature talking about one of the publications cited report funder pressure to suppress results. And based on this publication, a survey of public health researchers revealed that 18% felt pressured by funders to delay or to change or alter or even publish trial results on topics related to health issues, basically related to nutrition, sexual health, physical activity, and substance use. Of course, there's a lot of evidence related to that. There is one publication in 2006 related to Australia, public health researchers, and it shows that 21% of the researchers also talked about pressure from the governmental funders that were really suppressing the research. Another study was talking about in US or United Kingdom, talking about some cases that show the suppressed researchers related to their own findings. And of course, it took different forms, whether suppressing some of the findings or even changing some reports just to match with the interest of the funder. And also some examples during COVID-19 was found in releasing or even delaying some of the publications related to COVID-19 in China specifically, and this caused part of spreading much more the COVID-19 into other countries. So all of these examples are examples of how much really the researchers, epidemiologists are really facing some challenge in publications or even delaying some results. And another example is through industry sponsors. And in the last 2 decades, there is a lot of evidence showing how much increase for industry sponsors related to funding the medical research worldwide. And specifically in 2011, industry funding agencies were accounted for 2/3 of the medical research worldwide. And of course, this is something concerning because of the evidence showing that there is the influence of the funders in the publication process. And it's not only the evidence is for the early researchers, and this pressure is also for advanced and senior research. So everyone is really affected by this type of suppression. And although publication rights are fundamental to academic freedom, yet research contracts are often including clause granting funders the last word, whether or not to publish a study. And there is even some evidence showing that there is interfering in the publication or part of the publication's results, and sometimes interfering even in the first process of the research, choosing the right question or choosing things that is maximizing the benefit for the company or the industries, but or also minimizing the harm for them. So it's, of course, interfering and sponsored, and the suppression of publications should be really avoided. And this should be really stopped by making sure that no research, no epidemiologist, or even the institution should not sign such a contract, even when they want to get funded. Of course, there is a lot of other examples and evidence, but I would like to start on this literature talking about type of suppression. And it's stated that one of the common type of suppression is reluctant overpublication because the result deemed unfavorable. Also, another evidence is the requested conclusions altered or changed, or requested reporting the finding delayed, attempt to discredit members of the research team, request some unfavored findings not to be published. Of course, if these findings are against the interests of the funder, discourage presenting for the certain group, the findings or the results. And lastly, also one of the evidence of suppression was shown demanding changes in the methods or in the analysis. Of course, all of these are direct interfering and linking the suppression to making the results or the findings of the research to be affecting the health of the community and the public health in general. Now, can we link that to political manipulation? Unfortunately, there is evidence talking about suppression and political manipulation. And if I want to start defining what's political manipulation, it's simply whenever there is an interfering or, evidence because of political agendas or because of political interest, there is a change in the results or disseminating of the results of the certain research. And government agencies may be more likely to intervene if study results were thought to be not matching their expectations, or if it is not really based on their health intervention objectives. And there was an inquiry in 2016 in UK, government agencies, or basically stating that they delayed publication because it was stated to be manipulated to fit with political concerns. Also, evidence during COVID-19 pandemic from the British Medical Journey documented 4 cases of science suppression or politicization in the UK, also as an evidence of political manipulation. Not only in UK, but also evidence was from United States. There was basically evidence of political manipulation that is alarming in the last recent decades. Specifically during COVID-19, there was also evidence of politicization, misinformation, or even interfering in the science to make it inequalities in science. If I want to emphasize also that it is not only in such countries, but also this problem is found in global South countries. Specifically, I would quote that in India, it was stated that science is being used as a political weapon to forward the government narrative rather than to help people. So all of these evidence show how much really there was a political manipulation or interference in research, and how much really the researchers, the epidemiologists, are facing pressures related to their whether study design or even definition of results or even publications. Furthermore, I would like to start asking some questions just to think about it while we can discuss at the end of the presentation. Can anyone give or think about an example of violation of research ethics that was found in your own countries? Can you think or share with us some example of political manipulation that you knew about or you faced maybe throughout your experience as a researcher? So looking forward to your input on that at the end of my presentation. Having said that, we would like also to discuss together, can we do something? Can we avoid conflict of interest? Can we really fight greenwashing? Of course, we can do things. And the first very important step is that we need to emphasize that environmental epidemiology researchers and professionals with decision-making roles should always disclose any financial or any advisory relationship that may influence the research or influence their decision in the research. And of course, we all know when we publish, journals now are asking clearly if we need to state if there is a conflict of interest. Even if we do review for an article, they always ask us, do we have a conflict of interest? So this concept is really emphasized now much more than it was before. And it's very important that individuals in a position of authority should always recuse or excuse themselves of taking decision if they think that there is a conflict of interest, and if they think that they are going to be biased in a way of taking the decision and not be able to be objective in their evaluation. And here comes the importance of guidelines governing disclosure. All institutions, funding agencies, regular agencies, and journals should really promote transparency in environmental epidemiology research. And they should do that by establishing guidelines for disclosing relationships involving conflict of interest. And, ICE is one of the institution organizations that play a role in that and try their best to advocate for more ethical, if you want, research performance. And I would like here to stop on the role of the Ethics and Philosophy Committee. And this is one of the committees that ICEE have. Of course, ICEE have a lot of chapters and committees. And I really advise everyone to know more about ICEE chapters and committees, and especially Ethics and Philosophy Committee. And just for you to know that you can just scan this QR code, you can go to the website of the ICE, you can get more involved in the Ethics and Philosophy Committee. You can just go and know more about the terms of reference, you know, the activities, and probably if you attended yesterday's lecture, you know that ICEE, Ethics and Philosophy Committee specifically, had updated the ethical guidelines on 2023. And it's also published on the website of the ICE. So participating in such committee is very useful for your own professional, you know, careers. It's very good networking. At the same time, it's very useful for the ICE because it really helps this you know, organization to reach its goal by providing a better health and environmental research. Also, I would like to emphasize that ICE have played a role in publishing some statements related to these concepts. And one of these is also published on the ICE website, which is related to conflict of interest and disclosure of epidemiology. And you can also please scan this QR code to go to the website and have you know, read or download this policy statement. And this policy statement is very important because it gives example of the misuse of conflict of interest, if you want, and evidence of conflict of interest in environmental epidemiology research. And because there was really a lot of increase of misuse, this statement was really very important to show how much conflict of interest is an ethical challenge and how much it's important to avoid it and have an ethical research that is, you know, based on the guidelines that we all advocate in our committees and, of course, the ICE. I would like to thank everyone for listening. And, of course, I look forward to hear your input on some of the questions that I raised. And maybe I can stop sharing and then we can open the discussion. Thank you so much for everyone.
Thank you so much, Nivine. That was really, really, really interesting topic. You know, after watching the KFC one, and I feel, I don't even not going to KFC, not probably chicken for a while, any kind of chicken. But it's the same, you know, because here I'm teaching environmental epidemiology and sometimes invite experts from industry. And we have one section on food safety. So whenever the food safety session finishes, it's roughly around lunchtime, and students feel nothing is safe to eat or drink. So thank you. I think this is a really important topic that we understand about a lot of the concepts you're mentioning, such as greenwashing and all this. Maybe it's even a new concept to a lot of our participants' workshop today. And I'm hoping, I'm also going to discuss with our colleagues, hoping that maybe could make your session, maybe your colleagues on ethics as one of the free course on our ICE YouTube channel, because I think this is such an important topic, which we shouldn't really limit people if they have to be our members. I think it's our responsibility to let everyone know that the ethics about conducting environmental epidemiology research. So thank you. Now I would like to ask if any our participants have any comments or questions today about the topic Nivine just mentioned and give in the lecture. And also if you have any things you would like to share with us, please also feel free to put your hands up. So now is this opportunity for you. I think it's great that we actually have Nivine online lively with us. And so if you have any questions, you don't have to email, but now you can just put your hands up and Nivine would answer for you. So any questions?
Can I ask them very quick questions? Any one of you stopped, you know, for any product that was, you know, used by a company, certain company in your mind, using green cups, you know, using ecological labels for a certain products does that makes things change? This will encourage you to buy things. Did you stop and read these labels? Did you really stop and think about these, if these were really evidence or just marketing items? I think someone has.
Yeah, we have Olufemi. Put the hands up, please.
Hello.
If you turn your microphone, yeah, so we can hear you, please.
It's okay. Thank you very much for that elaborate, knowledge enriching, presentation, which of course has also shed light on ethical issues as far as research is concerned. I have an experience, which I also want to share, and then I would go also. So can you hear me? I don't know if I'm audible.
Yes, we can hear you very well.
It's okay. It's okay. Sometimes ago, I think about 2 years ago, the blood samples was taken from my son in the school without my permission, without my consent. I almost, take that particular school to court, but I was prevailed on by the Parent Teachers Association to please let it lie. I don't just want us to focus attention on only industries, even though it's more rampant in industries because of what they stand to gain, but also what happens, especially in developing countries, as far as ethical abuse is also concerned, also need our attention as far as this is concerned. I just want to also share this so that we don't focus only or solely on industries and also look at situations that could also lead to such situations. I mean, to such ethical abuse, which also deserve our attention at that micro level. This is what I also want to share with us. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much for this sharing. And I echo you, of course. Basically, when we talk about ethics, it's in every level, especially in the community. And what you said is very true. We need to take always proxy consent when we're doing a research with children. We need to take proxy consent from the parents, guardians, in this case, you as a parent, and we need to take even the assent from the child. So this is one of the things that we need to consider. And basically, I really advise everyone to go and check the ethical guidelines for that is really updated and published on the ICE. Part of this is specifying, talking about proxy consent, assents, and the community. So yes, of course, I agree totally. We have different principles of ethics and the different levels. But why we emphasize, or why I emphasize in my lecture about industries, because basically when we talk about greenwashing, it's more into industries. It's more into misleading. And here is the importance of the difference, as I stated in my presentation, between green marketing and greenwashing. If they market things that's really true, there is no problem. In fact, it's this is the ethical importance, is that as a customer, as a parent, as whatever I am, when I have the right info, that means I have the right decision if I want to participate or not, or I want to buy this product or not. But the problem is when we mislead, when we hide, when we don't have evidence. This is when we call it greenwashing. So ethics is in every levels. Whatever research we do, we should really think about ethics, especially if we're working with human subjects and animals. As an environmental epidemiologist, it's a priority. And I think the courses at ICE is the first step. We need to educate ourselves first for us to know what is the ethical principles are, and then we can advocate for implementing such principles in any community that we're living in any level also. So thank you so much for sharing this experience.
Thank you both. Yes, thank you both. That's really great that we have our participants share their experience, and also Nivine, I like your discussion as well. So we have Rajini, please, Rajini. Rajini, if you like, I forgot to say, please feel free to briefly introduce yourself. Say, who you are, where you're based, if you like to. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Hi, my name is Rajini Agrani, and I have dual research interest in molecular and environmental epidemiology. I am currently situated in Germany, and I'm leading a group on molecular epidemiology. And yeah, I use a multitude of cohorts. I missed some bit of lecture yesterday and a little bit of today, but I catched gist in between both of them. I'm not sure if this was already discussed, but I'm on the other side where I use cohorts and older cohorts where residential addresses of study participants were collected. But they were collected not in the questionnaire, and since these are older studies, and now with newer studies, they ask the consent that whether we can use residential addresses to assign environmental exposures. But a few years ago, when the studies were a little old, that consent was not there. And what do you think ethically? Is it correct that we could use such data even though we have residential addresses, but the consent was not explicitly stated that, yeah, we will use your residential addresses to assign environmental exposures? Because that time, I think investigators may not have really thought about it. And now since these cohorts are now like old, 20 years old and so on, then it becomes difficult to also trace study participants. What do you suggest in this case? Ethically, what could be the right way?
Thank you so much for raising this question, Regini. Indeed, I agree totally that ethics, the interest and focus is much more nowadays than it was 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. So that's why we are raising much more attention now, even in the education and research and indefinite level, even in publication. So just to answer you correctly, of course, we need to know more about the study, but just to answer it quickly, if you want to go and use something from some previous collected data, and if you want to do it in an ethical way, and if you cannot reach the participant now, again, to maybe someone is not there anymore, you don't know, they died, I don't know the circumstances, but what you can do is you can use it, but in a not identifiable data. So the question is remaining is, how can I use the data, but making sure that it's going to be de-identified? So if you use a data that's de-identified, there will be no risk or harm for the subjects anymore. And of course, if there is no other alternative, and this is what you can do just to justify why you are using, because maybe you are not able to reach these people, maybe they are not anymore, maybe whatever the reason is. So the most important is to protect the data itself from being identifiable from the community. Sometimes it's not even the subjects. So if you want to work it, in an ethical way, of course, I need to know more about the study, but generally, best only concentrate on the concept of making sure that the data that you are going to use is de-identifiable. And in that way, you are going to secure, no harm for the community or the subjects. Hopefully I answered your question. Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Regini, and also Nivine, because I also was sitting on the ethics committee for years for looking about the large linked data. So what's happening in Australia is that we have the opportunity that you can link people's medical track record, everything. So it's very detailed, and often we have the same issue. So for example, people have a rare kind of diseases, and then you only have so many people have that diseases, and over time, can you then link the data and also the Medicare record, which is very sensitive. So I think, I totally agree everything Nivine you said, but I also think, Regini, I don't know whether in your research institute or in the area you're working have a human ethics committee. We have that, we have different levels, university level, but when you're talking about like if this data, say national level, we also have like state or nation level human ethics committee. So I would strongly recommend you to get in touch with them to tell them your case, so what their suggestion and how to make the best use of the data, but also meanwhile is an ethical study. Yeah.
Thank you. Just to confirm what you just said, of course, anyway, whatever the methodology that you are going to use, just need to always, this is just as a gentle reminder, of course. So whenever we're working with human subject research, we need to take an IRB, what we call IRB or independent review, whatever, or RCC, depending on what you call it, the ethical committee approval. So before you implement, probably you took it so you can start your research. So this is just a principle that should be always implemented throughout any human subject research. Anyone that needs to do human subject research need to take the approval. And to take the approval, you need to consider the ethical principles. And one of these is what I just talked about before.
Thank you both. Any other questions or feedback, or would you like to share? This is a great opportunity, you know, but I'm sure Nivine probably happy to be reached out by email,
Sure.
have separate conversations.
Sure.
Thank
Anytime.
you, Nivine. So any other questions? I think this is a really great discussion. And I think we're still all explore, because it's not necessary to have short answer, because everyone's case is quite unique. This is why I think we have this great discussion, but I think it's so important to raise the awareness, because we don't want to our research become unethical. It could actually really harm people's privacy, and other issues might emerge. Any other queries? No? And is there anything you would like to end, Nivine?
I just want to thank everyone for listening and for their input and participation. And I just want to hopefully highlight the concept of greenwashing, and of course, all the ethical principles, but specifically the conflict of interest and greenwashing. And I really hope that we can all be aware of these ethical challenges in the future. And I remain ready for anyone. You already probably shared my email, I think, with the participant before. I'm not sure if it is, but I welcome any question or anything related to these ethical challenges. Again, good luck, everyone. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nivine. Thanks everyone for attending this workshop with us. And we have the workshop every month, and please check out online our ISC website. And also we have all our session recorded. And if you're an ISC member, and you could log in after a few days of this session, I think you normally get email from ISC as well saying the recorded lecture is ready for you to watch. So if you miss any part of a session, please feel free to log in ISC website, and then you can watch the lecture. Thank you very much, and thanks Anna for help us organizing and hosting the sessions with us. Thank you. I hope you all have a nice evening or afternoon or morning, and I see you next month.
I just wanted to add that this month will be kind of exceptional, because we will have a second set of sessions next week on selection, bias, and confounding. So, and it will be on Tuesday and Wednesday, because on Monday it's a holiday on several countries. So just to make sure that you have it on your agenda, everyone. And thanks again, Nivine, for raising this important topic and your nice presentation.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you.